Could you please introduce yourself?
I am Brent Lane from Cat Country 98.7, and I am the program director of the radio station as well as the morning show co-host.
What does that even mean?
Well, my job at the radio station is to, as a personality, is to be part of the everyday lives of our community. And I like to say that this is a job where I get paid to make friends, because that's ultimately really what this is about. And this is a concierge job, right? Radio broadcasting is really about, it's like being a hotel concierge. Somebody comes in, you need to do something for them. The better you are at doing something for them, the better you are at your job. And so that's a lot of what that is. Now, the programming side of what I do is plan the music, I plan the personalities, I plan the promotions, spend a lot of time trying to make sure everybody's on the same page, ultimately kind of try to set the tone for the radio station so that we know how we're going to approach our community.
Okay. How many people are on your team?
Cat Country 98.7 employs, as a radio group, we employ more people than all other radio stations in town combined. We have, in the off-season, about 35, and in the on-season, 45.
Wow, so there's a lot more than just speaking on the radio.
That's true. That's true. It's a mini and varied team, but everybody's job is just as important to the overall brand of the radio station, which is critical to our success.
So what is your favorite thing about your job?
I think my favorite thing about this job is that, like I said, you get paid to be friends. But when I go beyond with that, I have now been here long enough to see 10-year-olds at Bands on the Beach grow up, go to college, and come back. And so I think my favorite thing is to see that I'm making a positive impact in somebody's life in a tangible way. You know, I think when people come up and tell you, you know, this meant something to me, or I was able to meet somebody emotionally, whether it's funny or sad or whatever it is, I think that's probably my favorite part of the job. Anytime you can be like, you know, I have a saying in the radio station that I always want to run the radio station. We always want to be the radio station that people remember 20 years from now. If they will say 20 years from now, there was this station when I was a kid, or when I lived in Pensacola, or whatever, then we are succeeding. And if we can be that station, we can be this legacy station. And I think that's really what my goal is. And one of the things that makes it a great job is to think of, you know, if you can do something on a day-to-day basis that you can emotionally touch somebody, I mean, that's huge.
That's awesome. Okay, so thinking back to high school or college,
Okay.
What was your favorite subject in school?
My favorite subject in high school was history, and I turned out to, surprise, excel in speech. Actually, I gave speech and debate. I took it as an elective because my mom made me do it, or it fit my schedule or something, and I turned out to be decent at it. It turned out to be something I was okay at, and I ended up excelling in it. And my sophomore year in high school, I remember somebody going, "Wouldn't it be cool to work on the radio?" And I was like, "I am going to work on the radio. That's what I'm going to do." And the lowest rated radio station in my hometown created a public service time slot, and they filled it with high school. Their idea was, why don't we have a couple of high school kids come in and do a high school talk show? And man, I was super into that. It was an oldies country station at the time, and in my head I was like, dude, girls are going to love this. Turned out they did not care for Hank Sr. quite like I imagined they would. But I got a really healthy foundation of country music, you know, for what it was like, you know, to build the foundation of country. But moreover, I found a real passion for it. And then I started hanging around the radio station. And by the time I was 16 and driving, I got in trouble in high school because I had what, back in the day, we didn't do anything digitally. We carried a cut bag, meaning I had my reel-to-reels, had a bunch of razor blades because I had to cut and splice the tape together, and alcohol and cotton swabs to clean off the cutting block. And my resource officer at my high school was very interested in why I would have alcohol, cotton swabs, and razor blades. Had to get a letter from the radio station to verify that I was supposed to have that. But I interned on the morning show and learned a lot from doing that. And I hung out enough that they let me start running the weekend schedules, and I hung out enough that they let me start doing lots of production, and ultimately it was a great foundation for a career later in life. In our business, they say once you get into radio, you can never get out, and that's true.
So going on that, where did you go to college? Is your degree useful? Did you go to college?
I did.
2-year, 4-year, and do you need your degree for this career?
So the deal, my parents, when I told my parents I was going to work midnight to 8 a.m. Saturday night into Sunday morning, my mom cried. She had to drop me off, so it was like a work permit situation. So she was very generous in letting me do it, but my mom, you're never going to finish school. And so I always made it a priority, because it was a priority in our family. My parents wanted me to go to college, and I wanted to go to college. And so I did 2 years of a junior college, majoring in broadcasting. But because I was already in broadcasting, I pretty much had free reign, but ran the radio station there, which is why if this is something that you're interested in, I would find your way to your college radio station and be involved in that, because you can learn a ton about leadership and all kinds of stuff just from running that. Then I looked at 3 different options. I was either going to go to San Francisco State, UCLA, or San Diego State, which were both great radio schools or had a great reputation for radio. And I ended up going to San Diego State. Got a bachelor's degree in mass communications and majored in that. Loved it so much I stuck around and got a master's degree in global media management. Now, I don't necessarily use what I did my thesis on had to do with non-traditional learning online. Where I use my degree is the skills that I learned in the master's degree. I learned how to study, I learned how to follow through on a checklist, I learned how to work with other people, and I also met arguably the 20 best friends of my lifetime that I still to this day keep in touch with. And even if 6 months goes by and we haven't talked, we are fast friends. So I would tell you that in all of the ways that my degree was important, it was important to an employer. Like in our business, this is a professional business, right? So you can come in and if getting a degree is not your jam, I'd rather have you have the experience. I've got a kid who works for Cat Country who approached me when he was 17 years old, wanted a job, came every Thursday in a suit. I didn't have a job for him at the time, but he wanted to be on the air, and he kept coming at me every Thursday afternoon at 3:15. He'd get out of school and send do you have any openings? That kid's hired and doing weekends now, and he's learned a lot. His ability to grow. We are always looking for people, particularly who are young, to get into the business now, because it's an industry that tended to kill off a lot of the older talent, and then not make available younger talent. We made some changes in our industry, and so as a locally owned business, we actually have that availability, and so I'm always trying to find the right person. So I would say if it's something that ever struck you as interesting, you should go get a job, get your foot in the door, go be the receptionist, go be the brand ambassador, go be the cat out on the street, go hand out stickers, tell somebody you'd like to do more. We're always looking for people that want to do more. I got a board op for a UWF game. I've got a board op for a Blue Wahoos game. I've got somebody who can, if you're good in PowerPoint, somebody in sales would love to have you help create a presentation. So, there's all kinds of ways that you can use just your own ingenuity to get into the business. And having a degree looks good because it tells me as a hiring person, it tells me that you're committed to getting through. I looked at somebody's resume who took 16 years to get their associate's degree, and regrettably, the truth is that doesn't tell me they're committed to it. So that's not a great fit. So I would tell you, if you're thinking about going through college, be dedicated, get through it. Don't be on the 6 to 10 year plan.
I think that's the thing is, as kids, as we're talking to high school students and as we talk to some of our alumni, is you start off with your gifts and talents and your passions, and then you're going to continue to learn the rest of your life.
Oh,
to
100%.
Stay current in your job, you'll continue. So one of the things I'd love for you to share is, what do people find hard about your job, and then what is your normal day like?
I think what people would find hard about this job is that you have to, the way I do it is I kind of embrace it at every level of life. If you're showing up to do a 9-to-5 job, this is not the right job. Let me start with how my day goes, and I'll tell you why that philosophy is important. So I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I get to the show by 5 o'clock. The show runs from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. I get off the show. I come in from a secondary location at the moment. I do about 3 hours of office work, usually meetings here. Tuesdays are a good example. We have a series of brain trust meetings. I go take a nap. I usually have events that start at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I'm usually out doing stuff 2 or 3 days a week, up to 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And then I usually have to show prep for 2 hours when I'm at home. So So when you're in this business, if you're on the air, everything is prep all the time. Like everything you do, this conversation we're having right now is going to be on the show tomorrow. This is prep, you know what I mean? I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you have to want to do that. Like this is not a shut-off business. I believe firmly in taking a vacation every 6 months for mental wealth and wellness. You know, you have got to go into what you do 100% of the time, but you also need to be able to take some downtime. In fact, actually, the best ideas typically happen on vacation. I've got this idea I'm going to do when I get back. That only happens when you're in some other part of, you know, either your life, your country, whatever. You're traveling around. You get inspiration from all over the place. So you gotta do that. Like you can't work around the clock and never see something new to ever grow. So growth is a big deal. So the other part of your question was, you know, what would somebody not like? Well, I've had plenty of people show up and think, oh my gosh, I'm going to be on the radio. Girls are going to dig it. And it turns out when I crack the mic and realize that 100,000 people are listening at that moment, it's not my favorite thing. I've had more, you know, but we're going to know till you try. So we try to give you a chance to try, right? I'm looking for people to try. I have a makeup of really experienced weekend talent, and I have a makeup of some people that I'm just now helping have Sunday night 9 to midnight as an available spot, so you've got an ability to fit into somewhere else. And I think that people would find sometimes that the hours are not what they hoped. Let me give you another example. Like, I work every Thanksgiving. We work as full-timers every Thanksgiving. There's no Thanksgiving off. The only day off we have is Christmas Day because we run special Christmas programming for it. Everything else is, you're on the clock. I get paid a holiday pay for it, but.
Well, and I think that's what we keep trying to tell the teens is you have your gifts and talents, and then if you combine it with your passion and you love it, it's not going to feel like a job.
Right.
And so with me, obviously I work in nonprofit, so I'm not for profit, as I told my husband. But in a career like this, and if you like the different hours, and for some people who have to sit at a desk all day, this is like sounding probably awesome to them. What is the salary range in your job?
It's a good question. Salary range really can start as low as $19,000 a year. I mean, in a full-time capacity, if you're the night guy and you're just trying to break in, that's probably pretty good money. All the way up to 6 figures. I mean, you can definitely do it. It's a hustle. I mean, there's some other parts of our job that allow personalities to make money, which is to say, I do remotes. That's paid extra. I can, you know, I've been here long enough to endorse local businesses. I get paid extra for that.
Very much appreciate your time and helping us to make an impact on teens through Chain Reaction.
I hope you will come and try out the radio broadcasting business. Lots of different ways. Maybe you like crunching numbers. I got plenty of ways. You can do traffic, brand ambassador, you can be the general manager. I'm sure Mary would love it. And you can be a personality. There's all kinds of different ways you can fit into this business.